Welcome, brave souls, to Dreadful Diaries, where the shadows whisper secrets and the night holds untold horrors. If you crave the thrill of the unknown, make sure to subscribe and join our community of fellow horror enthusiasts. Now, dim the lights, grab a blanket, and let's dive into our first tale of terror. In the heart of Warsaw, the Hotel Bristol stood as a testament to elegance and history. With its grand architecture and luxurious interiors, it attracted guests from around the world. However, beneath its polished surface lay a chilling secret that few dared to speak of. One rainy evening in late autumn, a young journalist named Anna checked into the hotel. She had come to Warsaw to cover a cultural festival, but she was also drawn by the whispers of the hotel's haunted past. Intrigued by the stories of a ghostly figure seen wandering the halls, Anna decided to investigate further. As she settled into her room, the atmosphere felt heavy, almost electric. The ornate furnishings and vintage decor were beautiful, but there was an unsettling chill in the air. Dismissing her unease, Anna unpacked her camera and notebook, determined to capture the essence of the hotel for her article. That night, as the rain pattered against the window, Anna decided to explore the hotel. The dimly lit corridors echoed with the sound of her footsteps, and the air felt thick with history. She passed by the grand ballroom, where a wedding had once taken place, and paused to admire the intricate chandeliers. It was then that she felt it, a sudden drop in temperature, as if a cold breeze had swept through the hallway. Shaking off the sensation, Anna continued her exploration. She reached the third floor, where guests had reported seeing the ghost of a woman in a flowing white dress. Legend had it that she was a former guest who had died tragically in the hotel, her spirit forever wandering the halls in search of something lost. As Anna approached the end of the corridor, she noticed a door slightly ajar. Curiosity piqued, she pushed it open and stepped inside. The room was dark, the curtains drawn tight. As her eyes adjusted, she saw a figure standing by the window, staring out into the night. Heart racing, Anna called out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" The figure turned slowly, revealing a woman with long, flowing hair and a pale, ethereal face. She wore a white dress that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. Anna's breath caught in her throat as she realized she was staring at the ghostly apparition from the stories. "Help me," the woman whispered, her voice barely audible. "I cannot find him." Anna's instincts kicked in. She reached for her camera, but the ghostly figure vanished before her eyes, leaving only a lingering chill in the air. Shaken, Anna stumbled back into the hallway, her mind racing. Who was the woman? What had happened to her? Determined to uncover the truth, Anna spent the next day researching the hotel's history. She discovered that the woman was named Elżbieta, a bride who had come to the hotel for her wedding. On the day of the ceremony, tragedy struck when her fiancé was killed in a car accident. Heartbroken, Elżbieta had wandered the hotel in despair, and it was said that she had never left. That night, Anna returned to the third floor, armed with her notebook and a sense of purpose. She wanted to help Elżbieta find peace. As she stood in the corridor, she called out softly, "Elżbieta, I'm here to listen. What do you need?" The air grew colder, and Anna felt a presence beside her. The lights flickered, and she could hear the faint sound of a wedding march playing in the distance. Suddenly, the ghostly figure appeared again, her eyes filled with sorrow. "Find him," Elżbieta pleaded. "He is lost." Anna's heart raced as she realized that Elżbieta was referring to her fiancé. She needed to uncover the truth of his death to help the spirit find closure. With renewed determination, Anna delved deeper into the hotel's archives, piecing together the tragic story of the couple. After days of research, Anna discovered that Elżbieta's fiancé had been buried in a nearby cemetery. She felt a sense of urgency. She had to bring Elżbieta's story to light. That night, she returned to the hotel, ready to confront the spirit one last time. In the dimly lit corridor, Anna called out, "Elżbieta, I know where he is. I can help you find him." The temperature dropped sharply, and the lights flickered once more. Elżbieta appeared, her expression a mix of hope and despair. "Will you take me to him?" she asked, her voice trembling. Anna nodded, feeling a surge of compassion. "Yes, let's go together." As they made their way to the cemetery, Anna felt a strange connection to the spirit. She could sense Elżbieta's longing and pain. When they reached the grave, Anna knelt down and brushed away the leaves, revealing the headstone. "Here lies your love," she whispered, tears in her eyes. In the heart of the French Quarter, the Hotel Monteleone stood as a beacon of history and elegance. With its ornate balconies and rich literary legacy, it had hosted countless writers, artists, and musicians over the decades. But beneath its glamorous facade lay a darker side, a reputation for being haunted by the spirits of former guests. One sultry summer evening, a young novelist named Claire checked into the hotel. She had come to New Orleans seeking inspiration for her next book, drawn by the city's vibrant culture and the whispers of the supernatural that surrounded the Monteleone. As she entered her room, she felt a strange mix of excitement and unease, as if the very walls were alive with stories waiting to be told. That night, Claire settled into her room, the air thick with humidity and the distant sounds of jazz filtering through the open window. She pulled out her notebook, determined to write, but found herself distracted by the hotel's ambience. The flickering candlelight and the creaking floorboards seemed to whisper secrets from the past. As the clock struck midnight, Claire decided to take a stroll through the hotel. The dimly lit hallways were eerily quiet, and the air felt charged with energy. She wandered past the carousel bar, where the spinning bar stools had seen countless patrons over the years, and paused to admire the vintage photographs lining the walls, images of famous writers who had once graced the hotel. Suddenly, she heard a soft giggle echoing down the corridor. Claire turned, her heart racing. "Hello?" she called out, but there was no response. The giggle came again, this time followed by the sound of footsteps. Intrigued and a little frightened, Claire followed the sounds, her curiosity outweighing her fear. The footsteps led her to a small, dimly lit parlor. As she stepped inside, she felt a sudden chill, and the air grew heavy. In the corner of the room, she saw a figure, a young girl in a white dress, her hair cascading down her shoulders. The girl looked up, her eyes wide with innocence and mischief. "Who are you?" Claire asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm Lila," the girl replied, her voice sweet and melodic. "I used to play here a long time ago." Claire's heart raced. She had heard stories of a young girl who had died in the hotel many years ago, her spirit said to linger in the halls, seeking companionship. "What happened to you, Lila?" Claire asked gently. "I was waiting for my parents," Lila said, her expression turning somber. "They never came back." Claire felt a pang of sadness for the lost child. "I'm here now. Would you like to play?" Lila's face brightened, and she nodded eagerly. "Yes. Let's play hide and seek." As they played, Claire felt a strange connection to the spirit. Lila's laughter echoed through the parlor, filling the room with warmth. But as the game continued, Claire began to notice something unsettling. The shadows in the room seemed to shift, and the temperature dropped even further. The laughter turned into whispers, and Claire felt an overwhelming sense of dread creeping in. "Lila, where are you?" Claire called out, her voice trembling. The room fell silent, and the air grew thick with tension. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and Claire felt a cold breeze sweep through the parlor. "Help me," a voice whispered, but it was no longer Lila's. It was deeper, more menacing. Claire's heart raced as she turned to see a shadowy figure emerging from the darkness, a tall man with hollow eyes and a sinister grin. "Who are you?" Claire demanded, backing away. "I am the keeper of this place," the figure replied, his voice echoing like thunder. "And you should not be here." Panic surged through Claire as she turned to flee, but the door slammed shut before she could reach it. The room felt alive with malevolence, and she could hear the whispers growing louder, drowning out her thoughts. "Leave now, or be trapped forever," the figure warned. Desperate, Claire focused on Lila's presence, hoping the innocent spirit would help her. "Lila, where are you?" she cried out, her voice breaking. In an instant, the shadows shifted again, and Lila appeared beside her, her expression filled with concern. "You have to go, Claire. He's not nice." With Lila's guidance, Claire rushed to the window, throwing it open and climbing out onto the fire escape. The cool night air hit her like a wave, and she scrambled down the metal steps, her heart pounding in her chest. Behind her, she could hear the angry shouts of the shadowy figure, but Lila's gentle voice urged her on. "Keep going. You can do it. Lila." The Chateau Laurier, an iconic hotel in Ottawa, stood majestically at the edge of the Rideau Canal, its turrets and spires reaching toward the sky. Known for its opulence and rich history, the hotel had hosted dignitaries, celebrities, and countless guests over the years. However, it was also known for its ghostly inhabitants, particularly the spirit of Charles Melville Hayes, the hotel's original owner, who tragically died before its completion. One chilly autumn evening, a young historian named Emily checked into the Chateau Laurier. She had come to Ottawa to research the hotel's storied past for a book she was writing. As she entered her room, she felt a strange energy in the air, as if the walls themselves were whispering secrets of the past. Dismissing her unease, she unpacked her notebooks and set out to explore the hotel. As Emily wandered through the grand hallways, she marveled at the intricate architecture and the lavish decor. The chandeliers sparkled like stars, and the scent of polished wood filled the air. But as night fell, the atmosphere shifted. The once bustling hotel grew quiet, and an eerie stillness settled in. That night, Emily decided to conduct her research in the hotel's library, a cozy room filled with books and historical artifacts. As she pored over old photographs and documents, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end, and she glanced around, half expecting to see someone behind her. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the library, causing Emily to jump. She turned to see a stack of books had toppled over, though she was certain she had been alone. Heart racing, she picked up the books and continued her research, trying to focus on the task at hand. As the clock struck midnight, Emily decided to call it a night. She made her way back to her room, but as she walked through the dimly lit corridors, she felt an inexplicable chill. The air grew heavy, and she could hear faint whispers, like a conversation just out of reach. She paused, straining to listen, but the voices faded away. Once in her room, Emily tried to shake off the unease. She settled into bed, but sleep eluded her. The whispers returned, echoing in her mind, and she felt a presence in the room. Just as she was about to drift off, she heard a soft knock at her door. Who could that be at this hour, she wondered, her heart pounding. Gathering her courage, she got out of bed and opened the door, but no one was there. The hallway was empty, the only sound the distant ticking of a clock. Returning to her room, Emily felt a sudden rush of cold air. She turned to see a figure standing at the foot of her bed, a man in a vintage suit, his face pale and expression somber. It was Charles Melville Hayes, the hotel's founder. "Why are you here?" Emily gasped, her voice trembling. "I seek closure," he replied, his voice echoing like a distant memory. "I never saw my dream completed. I need your help." Emily's heart raced as she realized she was standing before the very spirit she had read about. "What do you need from me?" she asked, her curiosity overcoming her fear. "The hotel is alive with stories, but they are fading," Hayes said, his eyes filled with sorrow. "You must tell them. You must ensure that my legacy lives on." Determined to help, Emily agreed. "I will write your story. I promise." As she spoke, the room grew warmer, and Hayes's expression softened. "Thank you," he whispered, before slowly fading away, leaving Emily alone in the dim light of her room. The next morning, Emily awoke with a sense of purpose. She spent the day exploring the hotel, interviewing staff, and gathering stories from guests. Each tale she heard seemed to breathe life into the hotel's history, and she felt Hayes's presence guiding her. That night, as she sat in the library, writing furiously, she felt a gentle breeze pass by her. The whispers returned, but this time they were clearer, as if the spirits of the hotel were encouraging her. She could almost hear their laughter and conversations, a chorus of voices from the past. Days turned into nights, and Emily poured her heart into her writing. She felt a connection to the hotel and its history, as if she were channeling the spirits of those who had come before her. But as she neared the completion of her manuscript, the atmosphere in the hotel shifted once more. One evening, as she was finalizing her work, the lights flickered, and the temperature dropped. Emily felt a sense of foreboding wash over her. The whispers grew louder, more frantic. Nestled in the picturesque Rocky Mountains of Colorado, the Stanley Hotel loomed like a grand sentinel over the landscape. With its stunning architecture and breathtaking views, it was a popular destination for tourists and a haven for those seeking inspiration. Among its many visitors was a young writer named Sarah, who had come to the hotel to escape the chaos of her life and find the spark of creativity she desperately needed. As Sarah checked into the hotel, she felt an electric energy in the air. The Stanley was famous not only for its beauty but also for its connection to Stephen King, who had penned The Shining after a stay there. The stories of ghostly apparitions and strange occurrences intrigued her, and she couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement mixed with trepidation. That evening, after settling into her room, Sarah decided to explore the hotel. The long, winding hallways were adorned with vintage photographs and antique furnishings, each corner steeped in history. As she wandered, she felt a chill in the air, a sensation that sent shivers down her spine. Dismissing it as a draft, she continued her exploration, her mind racing with ideas for her own story. As night fell, Sarah returned to her room, her notebook in hand. She sat by the window, gazing out at the moonlit mountains, and began to write. But as the clock struck midnight, she was interrupted by a soft knock at her door. Startled, she set her pen down and called out, "Who's there?" Silence answered her, and her heart raced. Gathering her courage, she opened the door, but the hallway was empty. A sense of unease washed over her, but she shrugged it off, convincing herself it was just her imagination. The following night, Sarah decided to join a ghost tour of the hotel, eager to learn more about its haunted history. The tour guide, a local historian, shared chilling tales of the hotel's past, including stories of the original owner, F.O. Stanley, and his wife, Flora. Guests had reported seeing their apparitions wandering the halls, and strange occurrences were commonplace. As the group moved through the hotel, Sarah felt a strange pull toward the ballroom. The guide recounted a story about a ghostly party that was said to take place on certain nights, where the spirits of former guests danced in the moonlight. Intrigued, Sarah lingered behind the group, hoping to catch a glimpse of the supernatural. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the temperature dropped. Sarah felt a presence beside her, and she turned to see a figure, a woman in a flowing white dress, her face serene yet sorrowful. The apparition seemed to beckon her, and Sarah's heart raced with a mix of fear and fascination. "Flora," she whispered, recognizing the spirit from the stories. The woman nodded, her eyes filled with longing. "Help us," she murmured, her voice barely audible. Before Sarah could respond, the figure vanished, leaving her alone in the dimly lit ballroom. Shaken, she rejoined the tour group, her mind racing with questions. What did Flora want? How could she help? That night, Sarah returned to her room, her thoughts consumed by the encounter. She felt compelled to write, to capture the essence of the spirits that lingered in the hotel. As she wrote, the whispers of the past filled her mind, guiding her words. But as the hours passed, the atmosphere in the room grew heavy, and she felt a sense of foreboding. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, and the temperature dropped. Sarah's breath quickened as she heard the sound of laughter echoing through the hall. It was a child's laughter, bright and cheerful, but it sent chills down her spine. She stood up, heart pounding, and opened her door. The hallway was empty, but the laughter continued, drawing her toward the staircase. Against her better judgment, she followed the sound, descending the stairs into the darkness. As she reached the lower level, the laughter stopped, replaced by a haunting silence. In the dim light, Sarah saw a shadow dart past her. She turned, but there was nothing there. Panic surged through her, and she felt the urge to flee, but something held her in place. It was as if the spirits of the hotel were urging her to stay, to uncover the truth. Suddenly, a door creaked open at the end of the hallway, and Sarah felt an inexplicable pull to enter. She stepped inside, and the room was filled with an otherworldly glow. In the center stood a grand piano, its keys untouched yet seemingly alive with energy. As she approached, she heard a soft melody playing, a tune that resonated deep within her soul. "Flora," Sarah called out, her voice trembling. "Is this you?" The music stopped, and the room fell silent. But then, she felt a gentle breeze. The Hotel Chelsea, a storied landmark in New York City, had long been a haven for artists, musicians, and writers. Its walls were steeped in history, echoing with the laughter and tears of its famous residents. But beneath its artistic allure lay a darker side, a reputation for hauntings that sent shivers down the spines of even the most seasoned guests. One rainy evening in late October, a young artist named Mia checked into the Hotel Chelsea. She had come to New York to find inspiration for her next painting, drawn by the hotel's rich history and the stories of its ghostly inhabitants. As she entered her room, she felt a strange energy in the air, as if the very walls were alive with the spirits of those who had come before her. That night, Mia decided to explore the hotel. The dimly lit hallways were adorned with eclectic artwork, and the scent of old wood and paint filled the air. As she wandered, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. The atmosphere was thick with creativity, but also with an unsettling tension. As she reached the 5th floor, Mia heard a faint sound, a soft, mournful melody drifting through the hallway. Intrigued, she followed the sound, her heart racing. It led her to a small, dimly lit room at the end of the corridor. The door was slightly ajar, and she could see a figure sitting at a piano, playing a haunting tune. "Hello," Mia called out, stepping closer. The figure turned, revealing a young man with disheveled hair and a piercing gaze. It was Sid Vicious, the infamous bassist of the Sex Pistols, who had once called the Chelsea home. "Can't you hear the music?" he asked, his voice low and melancholic. "It's the sound of lost dreams." Mia's heart raced. She had heard the stories of Sid's tragic life and untimely death, but seeing him here, in the flesh, or rather, in spirit, was surreal. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I'm trapped," Sid replied, his expression filled with sorrow. "This place holds my memories, but I can't escape them. I need someone to remember." Mia felt a wave of compassion wash over her. "I'll remember you," she promised. "I'll tell your story." As she spoke, the room grew colder, and the music faded into silence. Sid's figure began to shimmer, and Mia felt a sense of urgency. "You have to help me," he said, his voice echoing. "Find the truth." Before she could respond, Sid vanished, leaving Mia alone in the dimly lit room. Confused and shaken, she returned to her own room, her mind racing with questions. What truth did he want her to find? And how could she help a spirit trapped in the past? The next day, Mia delved into the history of the Hotel Chelsea, researching its famous residents and the tragedies that had unfolded within its walls. She learned of the countless artists who had lived and died there, each leaving behind a piece of their soul. But it was Sid's story that haunted her the most. As she pieced together the fragments of his life, Mia discovered that Sid had been deeply affected by the death of his girlfriend, Nancy Spungen. Their tumultuous relationship had ended in tragedy, and Sid had never fully recovered from the loss. It became clear to Mia that Sid's spirit was tied to the hotel not just by his own legacy, but by the unresolved pain of their love. That night, Mia returned to the 5th floor, determined to confront Sid's spirit once more. As she stood in the hallway, she felt a chill in the air, and the lights flickered ominously. "Sid," she called out, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The air grew heavy, and she could hear the faint sound of a piano playing in the distance. Following the melody, she found herself back in the small room where she had first encountered Sid. The piano was silent, but the atmosphere crackled with energy. "Why are you still here?" Mia asked, her voice echoing in the stillness. "What do you need?" Suddenly, Sid's figure materialized before her, his expression a mix of longing and despair. "I can't move on until I find peace," he said, his voice filled with anguish. "I need to let go of Nancy." Mia's heart ached for him. "You loved her," she said softly. "But holding on to that pain is keeping you trapped. You have to forgive yourself." As she spoke, the room grew colder, and the shadows deepened. Sid's expression shifted, and for a moment, Mia saw a flicker of hope in his eyes. "Can you help me remember the good times?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The Hotel Galvez, a grand structure overlooking the Gulf of Mexico in Galveston, Texas, was known for its stunning architecture and rich history. Built in 1911, it had hosted countless guests, but it was also famous for its ghostly resident, a woman in white who was said to wander the halls, searching for her lost love. One stormy evening in late October, a young woman named Lily checked into the hotel. She was an aspiring writer, seeking inspiration for her next novel. The tales of the hotel's haunting intrigued her, and she felt a strange pull to the place. As she entered her room, she marveled at the vintage decor and the view of the turbulent sea, but a sense of unease settled over her. That night, as the wind howled outside, Lily decided to explore the hotel. The dimly lit hallways were adorned with antique photographs and elegant furnishings, but the atmosphere felt heavy, as if the walls held secrets of the past. As she wandered, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. As she reached the second floor, she heard a soft sobbing sound echoing through the corridor. Curiosity piqued, Lily followed the sound, her heart racing. It led her to a small sitting area, where she saw a figure, a woman in a flowing white dress, her face obscured by a veil. The woman's shoulders shook with quiet sobs, and Lily felt a pang of sympathy. "Are you okay?" Lily asked gently, stepping closer. The woman looked up, revealing tear-streaked cheeks and sorrowful eyes. "I'm searching for him," she whispered, her voice filled with despair. "He promised he would return." Lily's heart ached for the ghostly figure before her. "Who are you?" she asked softly. "I am the spirit of Isabella," the woman replied, her voice trembling. "I waited for my love, a sailor who never came back from the sea. I cannot rest until I find him." Lily felt a chill run down her spine. She had heard the stories of Isabella, the woman in white who roamed the hotel, forever searching for her lost love. "What can I do to help you?" she asked, her voice steady despite her fear. "Help me remember," Isabella pleaded, her eyes filled with longing. "Help me find him." Determined to assist the spirit, Lily spent the next day researching the hotel's history. She learned that Isabella had been a beautiful young woman who had fallen in love with a sailor named Thomas. He had promised to return to her after a long voyage, but tragedy struck when his ship sank during a storm. Heartbroken, Isabella had waited for him at the hotel, never knowing he was gone. That night, Lily returned to the second floor, her heart heavy with the weight of Isabella's story. As she entered the sitting area, she felt a familiar chill in the air. "Isabella," she called out, her voice echoing in the stillness. The ghostly figure appeared before her, her expression a mix of hope and despair. "Have you found him?" Isabella asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know what happened to Thomas," Lily replied, her heart racing. "He died in a storm at sea." "I'm so sorry." Isabella's face fell, and she looked away, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I waited for him for so long," she said, her voice breaking. "I thought he would come back to me." Lily stepped closer, feeling a surge of compassion. "You don't have to wait anymore. He wouldn't want you to be trapped in sorrow. You can find peace." As she spoke, the room grew colder, and the lights flickered. Isabella's form began to shimmer, and Lily felt a sense of urgency. "You have to let go," she urged. "He is at peace now, and so should you be." Isabella looked at Lily, her eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and understanding. "But how can I let go of the love I've held for so long?" she asked, her voice trembling. "By remembering the joy he brought you," Lily replied, her voice steady. "Celebrate his memory, and know that he will always be a part of you." In that moment, the air shifted, and Lily felt a warmth enveloping her. Isabella's expression softened, and for the first time, there was a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice filled with gratitude. "I will remember him with love, not sorrow." As Isabella began to fade, the room filled with a soft, golden light. "You have freed me," she said, her voice echoing like a gentle breeze. "I will always be grateful." With that, Isabella vanished, leaving Lily alone in the sitting area. The air felt lighter, and the oppressive. The Omni Parker House, a historic hotel in Boston, was known for its elegant charm and rich literary history. Established in 1855, it had hosted countless notable guests, including the famous author Charles Dickens. Rumors swirled that Dickens had left behind more than just his literary legacy. Many claimed to have encountered his ghostly presence within the hotel's walls. One crisp autumn evening, a young writer named Clara checked into the Omni Parker house. She had come to Boston to research the city's literary history for her upcoming novel, and the allure of the hotel's connection to Dickens was irresistible. As she entered her room, she felt a strange energy in the air, as if the very walls were whispering stories of the past. That night, Clara decided to explore the hotel. The grand lobby was adorned with chandeliers that sparkled like stars, and the scent of freshly baked bread wafted through the air from the hotel's renowned restaurant. As she wandered through the hallways, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. The atmosphere was thick with history, and she felt a connection to the writers who had walked these halls before her. As she reached the second floor, Clara noticed a small, dimly lit parlor. The door was slightly ajar, and she could hear the faint sound of a man's voice reciting lines of prose. Intrigued, she pushed the door open and stepped inside. The room was empty, but the air felt charged with energy, and she could almost see the ghostly figure of a man standing by the window, gazing out at the bustling streets of Boston. Charles Dickens. Clara whispered, her heart racing. She had read about the author's connection to the hotel, but she never expected to feel his presence so strongly. Suddenly, the temperature dropped, and Clara felt a chill run down her spine. The figure turned, revealing a man with a distinguished appearance, dressed in Victorian clothing. His eyes sparkled with intelligence and mischief, and Clara felt an overwhelming sense of awe. "Ah, a fellow writer!" Dickens exclaimed, his voice rich and melodic. "What brings you to my humble abode?" Clara's breath caught in her throat. "I'm researching your life and work," she stammered. "I never expected to meet you, or see you." Dickens chuckled softly, the sound echoing in the empty room. "Many have come to seek my spirit, but few understand the weight of a writer's legacy. What do you wish to know?" Clara felt a surge of excitement. "I want to understand your inspiration, your struggles. How did you create such vivid characters?" As they spoke, Clara felt a connection to the author, as if he were guiding her through the intricacies of storytelling. But as the conversation deepened, she noticed a shadow lurking in the corner of the room, a dark figure that seemed to pulse with malevolence. "Beware the shadows," Dickens warned, his expression turning serious. "Not all spirits linger with good intentions." Before Clara could respond, the lights flickered, and the temperature dropped even further. The dark figure began to take shape, revealing a gaunt man with hollow eyes and a sinister grin. Clara's heart raced as she realized this was not a friendly spirit. "Leave this place," the figure hissed, his voice a chilling whisper. "You do not belong here." Clara felt a wave of fear wash over her, but Dickens stepped forward, his presence strong and protective. "You will not frighten her," he declared, his voice echoing with authority. "She seeks knowledge, not harm." The dark figure recoiled, but Clara could feel its anger radiating through the room. "You cannot protect her forever, Dickens," it sneered. "The past is filled with shadows, and they will consume her." With a surge of courage, Clara turned to Dickens. "What do I do?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Embrace the light of your creativity," he replied, his eyes shining with determination. "Write your truth, and the shadows will fade." As Clara nodded, she felt a warmth enveloping her, pushing back against the darkness. The dark figure shrieked in frustration, its form flickering like a dying flame. "You cannot escape me," it howled, before vanishing into the shadows. The room fell silent, and Clara turned to Dickens, her heart racing. "Thank you," she breathed, overwhelmed by the experience. "I won't forget this." Dickens smiled, his expression softening. "Remember, my dear, the power of words can illuminate even the darkest corners of the soul. Write with passion, and you will find your way." With that, the ghostly figure began to fade, leaving Clara alone in the parlor. The air felt lighter, and the oppressive weight of the shadows had lifted. She knew she had been given. The Skirvin Hotel, a historic landmark in Oklahoma City, was known for its luxurious accommodations and rich history. However, it was also infamous for its ghostly resident, a maid named Effie, whose tragic love story had left her spirit wandering the hotel's halls. Guests often reported hearing her soft cries echoing through the corridors, and some claimed to have seen her apparition drifting through the lobby. One chilly winter evening, a young journalist named Mark checked into the Skirvin Hotel. He had come to Oklahoma City to cover a local event, but he was also drawn by the hotel's haunted reputation. As he entered his room, he felt a strange energy in the air, as if the walls were alive with stories waiting to be told. That night, after settling in, Mark decided to explore the hotel. The grand lobby was adorned with elegant chandeliers, and the vintage decor exuded a sense of nostalgia. As he wandered through the hallways, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. The atmosphere was thick with history, and he felt a connection to the past. As he reached the second floor, Mark heard a soft sobbing sound echoing through the corridor. Intrigued, he followed the sound, his heart racing. It led him to a small sitting area, where he saw a figure, a woman in a vintage maid's uniform, her face obscured by her long hair. She was sitting on a bench, her shoulders shaking with quiet sobs. "Are you okay?" Mark asked gently, stepping closer. The woman looked up, revealing tear-streaked cheeks and sorrowful eyes. "I'm searching for him," she whispered, her voice filled with despair. "He promised he would return." Mark's heart ached for the ghostly figure before him. "Who are you?" he asked softly. "I am Effie," the woman replied, her voice trembling. "I waited for my love, a man who worked in the hotel. He was taken from me too soon, and I cannot find peace." Mark felt a chill run down his spine. He had heard the stories of Effie, the maid who had fallen in love with a bellboy. Their romance had been cut short when he was tragically killed in an accident, leaving Effie heartbroken and forever searching for him. "What can I do to help you?" Mark asked, his voice steady despite his fear. "Help me remember," Effie pleaded, her eyes filled with longing. "Help me find him." Determined to assist the spirit, Mark spent the next day researching the hotel's history. He learned about Effie and her tragic love story, piecing together the fragments of their lives. He discovered that the bellboy had died in a fall while trying to fix a broken window, and Effie had been devastated by the loss. That night, Mark returned to the second floor, his heart heavy with the weight of Effie's story. As he entered the sitting area, he felt a familiar chill in the air. "Effie," he called out, his voice echoing in the stillness. The ghostly figure appeared before him, her expression a mix of hope and despair. "Have you found him?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know what happened to him," Mark replied, his heart racing. "He died in an accident." "I'm so sorry." Effie's face fell, and she looked away, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I waited for him for so long," she said, her voice breaking. "I thought he would come back to me." Mark stepped closer, feeling a surge of compassion. "You don't have to wait anymore. He wouldn't want you to be trapped in sorrow. You can find peace." As he spoke, the room grew colder, and the lights flickered. Effie's form began to shimmer, and Mark felt a sense of urgency. "You have to let go," he urged. "He is at peace now, and so should you be." Effie looked at Mark, her eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and understanding. "But how can I let go of the love I've held for so long?" she asked, her voice trembling. "By remembering the joy he brought you," Mark replied, his voice steady. "Celebrate his memory, and know that he will always be a part of you." In that moment, the air shifted, and Mark felt a warmth enveloping him. Effie's expression softened, and for the first time, there was a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice filled with gratitude. "I will remember him with love, not sorrow." As Effie began to fade, the room filled with a soft, golden light. "You have freed me," she said, her voice echoing like a gentle breeze. "I will always be grateful." With that, Effie vanished, leaving. Nestled in the picturesque Rocky Mountains of Colorado, the Stanley Hotel stood as a majestic testament to early 20th century architecture. Known for its stunning views and rich history, it was also infamous for its connection to Stephen King, who found inspiration for The Shining during a stay at the hotel. But beyond its literary fame, the Stanley was rumored to be haunted, with guests reporting strange occurrences, ghostly apparitions, and the eerie sound of piano music echoing through the halls. One crisp autumn evening, a young woman named Rachel checked into the Stanley Hotel. She was a devoted fan of Stephen King and had long dreamed of visiting the place that had inspired one of her favorite novels. As she entered her room, she felt a strange energy in the air, a mix of excitement and trepidation. The hotel's grandeur was captivating, but the stories of its hauntings sent a shiver down her spine. That night, after settling in, Rachel decided to explore the hotel. The dimly lit hallways were adorned with vintage photographs and antique furnishings, each corner steeped in history. As she wandered, she felt a chill in the air, and the atmosphere grew heavy, as if the hotel itself were alive with memories. As she reached the ballroom, Rachel heard the faint sound of piano music drifting through the air. Intrigued, she followed the melody, her heart racing. The music was hauntingly beautiful, and she felt an inexplicable pull to the source. As she entered the ballroom, she was met with an empty room, the grand piano sitting silently in the corner. "Hello," Rachel called out, her voice echoing in the stillness. But there was no response. The music had stopped, leaving only the sound of her own heartbeat in her ears. She felt a chill run down her spine, but her curiosity urged her to stay. Suddenly, the temperature dropped, and Rachel could see her breath in the air. The lights flickered, and she felt a presence behind her. Turning slowly, she saw a figure, a woman in a flowing white dress, her hair cascading down her shoulders. The woman's face was serene yet sorrowful, and Rachel's heart raced as she realized she was staring at a ghost. "Who are you?" Rachel whispered, her voice trembling. "I am Elizabeth," the woman replied, her voice soft and melodic. "I once played the piano in this very room, filling it with music and laughter. But now, I am lost." Rachel felt a wave of compassion wash over her. "What happened to you?" she asked gently. "I was a guest here long ago," Elizabeth said, her eyes filled with longing. "I fell in love with a man who promised to return to me, but he never did. I have been waiting ever since, trapped in this place." Rachel's heart ached for the spirit before her. "You don't have to wait anymore. He wouldn't want you to be trapped in sorrow." As she spoke, the room grew colder, and the lights flickered again. Elizabeth's expression shifted, and Rachel could see the pain etched on her face. "But how can I let go of the love I've held for so long?" she asked, her voice trembling. By remembering the joy he brought you, Rachel replied, her voice steady. Celebrate his memory, and know that he will always be a part of you. In that moment, the air shifted, and Rachel felt a warmth enveloping her. Elizabeth's expression softened, and for the first time, there was a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Thank you, she whispered, her voice filled with gratitude. I will remember him with love, not sorrow. As Elizabeth began to fade, the room filled with a soft, golden light. You have freed me, she said, her voice echoing like a gentle breeze. I will always be grateful. With that, Elizabeth vanished, leaving Rachel alone in the ballroom. The air felt lighter, and the oppressive weight of the past had lifted. Rachel knew she had helped a lost soul find peace, and as she left the ballroom, she felt a sense of fulfillment wash over her. The next morning, as Rachel prepared to check out, she couldn't shake the feeling that the hotel had changed her. The stories of the Stanley Hotel were no longer just tales of hauntings, they were reminders of love, loss, and the power of memory. As she walked through the grand lobby one last time, she felt a sense of connection to the spirits that lingered there, knowing that their stories would live on through her. In the heart of downtown Los Angeles, the Cecil Hotel stood as a haunting relic of a bygone era. Once a glamorous destination for travelers, it had become infamous for its dark history, a magnet for the troubled and the lost. The hotel had seen its share of tragedies, multiple suicides, mysterious deaths, and a reputation that whispered of madness. Yet, it was the story of Elisa Lam that would etch the Cecil Hotel into the annals of the macabre. It was a chilly February evening in 2013 when Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old Canadian student, checked into the Cecil. She was on a solo trip, seeking adventure and a break from her studies. Little did she know that her journey would take a sinister turn. As she settled into her small room, the hotel's eerie ambience enveloped her. The flickering lights and creaking floors seemed to breathe life into the shadows that danced around her. Days passed, and Elisa's friends grew concerned when they hadn't heard from her. Her quirky social media posts had stopped, and her absence was unsettling. The hotel staff, accustomed to the peculiarities of their guests, brushed off her disappearance at first. But as the days turned into a week, the urgency grew. The police were called, and a search began. As investigators combed through the hotel, they uncovered a chilling truth. Guests had reported strange occurrences, unexplained noises echoing through the halls, ghostly figures glimpsed in the corners of their eyes, and a pervasive sense of dread that hung in the air. Some claimed to have seen Elisa wandering the halls, her expression vacant, as if she were searching for something, or someone. The search intensified, and the hotel's dark past loomed over the investigation. The Cecil had been home to notorious figures, including serial killers and the mentally ill. It was said that the spirits of those who had met tragic ends lingered within its walls, trapped in a cycle of despair. The police, however, were determined to find Elisa, and they scoured every inch of the hotel. Days turned into weeks, and just when hope seemed lost, a maintenance worker made a grim discovery. While checking the water tanks on the roof, he found Elisa's lifeless body floating in one of them. The news sent shockwaves through the community and reignited the hotel's dark legacy. How had she ended up there? The circumstances surrounding her death were shrouded in mystery. The autopsy revealed no signs of foul play, but the question remained, what had happened to her in the days leading up to her disappearance? As the investigation continued, the hotel became a focal point for paranormal enthusiasts and true crime aficionados. Ghost hunters flocked to the Cecil, eager to capture evidence of the supernatural. They set up cameras and conducted seances, hoping to connect with the spirits that were said to roam the halls. Some claimed to have felt a cold presence, while others reported hearing whispers in the dead of night. One night, a group of ghost hunters gathered in the hotel's infamous room 1402, where a previous guest had taken her own life. As they conducted their investigation, the atmosphere grew thick with tension. Suddenly, the temperature dropped, and a heavy silence enveloped the room. One of the hunters, a medium, claimed to sense a presence, a young woman, lost and searching for peace. The group felt a chill run down their spines as they attempted to communicate with the spirit. "Is there someone here with us?" the medium asked, her voice trembling. A faint whisper echoed through the room, sending shivers down their spines. "Help me." The group exchanged nervous glances, their hearts racing. They pressed on, desperate to uncover the truth. As they delved deeper into the hotel's history, they uncovered stories of despair and tragedy, each tale more harrowing than the last. The Cecil Hotel was not just a building, it was a vessel of sorrow, a place where the living and the dead intertwined. As the night wore on, the ghost hunters felt an overwhelming sense of dread. They decided to leave room 1402, but as they turned to exit, the door slammed shut, trapping them inside. Panic set in as they struggled to open it, but it wouldn't budge. The whispers grew louder, echoing in their ears, urging them to listen. "Help me, find me." In that moment, they realized that Elisa Lamb's spirit was still searching for answers, still trapped within the confines of the Cecil Hotel. The group, united by fear and determination, began to chant, calling out to her spirit. "We're here to help you. We want to understand." With a final, deafening crash, the door flew open, and the group stumbled out into the hallway, gasping for breath. They had felt the weight of her sorrow, the desperation of a soul seeking closure. The experience left them shaken, but they knew they had to share Elisa's story. Whispers of the Queen Mary. In the heart of Long Beach, California, the majestic Queen Mary looms over the harbor, a relic of a bygone era. Once a luxurious ocean liner that ferried the elite across the Atlantic, she now stands as a floating hotel, a museum, and a canvas for ghostly tales. The ship, which was launched in 1934, has seen its share of history, both glorious and tragic. As the sun sets and the shadows lengthen, the Queen Mary transforms into a realm where the past and present intertwine, and the whispers of former passengers echo through her grand halls. One crisp autumn evening, a couple named Sarah and Mark decided to spend a weekend aboard the Queen Mary, drawn by the allure of its storied past and the promise of a unique experience. They checked into their cabin, room B340, notorious for its paranormal activity. The room had a reputation for being haunted, with reports of strange noises and ghostly apparitions. As they settled in, the couple exchanged excited glances, eager to explore the ship and perhaps encounter a ghostly presence. As night fell, they ventured out to explore the ship's labyrinthine corridors. The Queen Mary was a marvel of Art Deco design, with polished wood, intricate details, and grand ballrooms that once hosted lavish parties. But as they wandered deeper into the ship, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew cooler, and an unsettling silence enveloped them. They paused near the first-class swimming pool, where the water glimmered under the dim lights. It was here that they first heard it, a faint sound, like the laughter of children echoing through the empty space. Intrigued, they followed the sound, their hearts racing with a mix of excitement and trepidation. As they approached the pool, they noticed a flicker of movement in the corner of their eyes. Turning quickly, they caught a glimpse of small figures darting away, giggling as they vanished into the shadows. Mark and Sarah exchanged nervous glances, their skepticism wavering. Could it be the spirits of children who once played in this very pool? Determined to uncover more, they continued their exploration, eventually finding themselves in the ship's grand ballroom. The room was adorned with chandeliers that sparkled like stars, but the atmosphere was heavy with an inexplicable energy. Suddenly, the couple felt a chill sweep through the room, and the lights flickered. In that moment, they both saw a figure, a woman in a flowing white dress, her face obscured by a veil. She glided across the floor, her presence both ethereal and sorrowful. Frozen in place, Sarah and Mark watched as the apparition seemed to reach out, her hand brushing against the air as if searching for something lost. The couple felt a wave of sadness wash over them, as if they were witnessing a moment frozen in time. Just as quickly as she appeared, the figure vanished, leaving behind a lingering sense of longing. Shaken but exhilarated, they returned to their cabin, eager to share their experiences. As they recounted the night's events, they heard a soft knock at the door. Hesitant, Mark opened it to find nothing but the empty corridor. But as he turned back, he noticed a small, old-fashioned teddy bear sitting on the bed, a gift from the ship's ghostly inhabitants, perhaps. They couldn't help but smile, feeling a connection to the spirits that lingered aboard the Queen Mary. The next morning, they learned from a staff member that the ship had a rich history of hauntings, with many guests reporting similar encounters. The spirits of children, a grieving bride, and even a former crew member were said to roam the halls, their stories intertwined with the ship's legacy. Sarah and Mark left the Queen Mary with a newfound appreciation for its history and the souls that still called it home. As they drove away, they glanced back at the ship, its silhouette standing proud against the morning sky. The Queen Mary was more than just a hotel. She was a vessel of memories, a bridge between the past and present, and a reminder that some stories never truly end. The laughter of children and the whispers of lost souls would continue to echo through her halls, inviting those brave enough to listen to uncover the mysteries that lay within. The Haunting of Hotel del Coronado. Nestled along the sun-kissed shores of Coronado Island, California, the Hotel del Coronado stands as a testament to Victorian elegance and seaside charm. With its iconic red roofs and sprawling beachfront, it has welcomed countless guests since its opening in 1888. However, beneath its picturesque facade lies a chilling tale of love, loss, and lingering spirits, most notably, the ghost of Kate Morgan. Kate Morgan arrived at the hotel in November 1892, a young woman with a mysterious past. She checked in alone, claiming to be waiting for her husband, but as days turned into weeks, he never appeared. Guests and staff noted her beauty, but also her melancholy demeanor. Whispers circulated about her troubled life, and soon, tragedy struck. On November 29th, Kate was found dead on the beach, her lifeless body discovered near the hotel. The cause of death was ruled a suicide, but the circumstances surrounding her demise remained shrouded in mystery. Some believed she had been abandoned, while others speculated foul play. Over a century later, the Hotel del Coronado remains a popular destination, but it is also known for its ghostly encounters. Many guests have reported seeing the apparition of a woman in a long white dress, wandering the hallways and gazing out at the ocean. Her presence is often accompanied by a sudden chill in the air, and some have even claimed to hear her soft sobs echoing through the corridors. One fateful evening, a couple named Emily and Jake decided to spend a weekend at the hotel, drawn by its beauty and the allure of its haunted history. As they checked in, the receptionist casually mentioned the legend of Kate Morgan, her voice laced with intrigue. Emily, fascinated by ghost stories, insisted they stay in the room where Kate had last been seen, room 3327. As night fell, the couple settled into their room, the sound of waves crashing against the shore providing a soothing backdrop. But as the clock struck midnight, an unsettling feeling crept over Emily. She felt an inexplicable pull to the beach, as if someone were calling her name. Jake, half asleep, dismissed her concerns, but Emily couldn't shake the feeling. She slipped out of bed and quietly made her way to the door. The moon hung high in the sky, casting an ethereal glow over the beach. As Emily stepped outside, a cool breeze swept through her hair, and she felt a shiver run down her spine. She walked along the shoreline, the sand cool beneath her feet, and soon found herself standing at the water's edge. The ocean was calm, but the air was thick with tension. Suddenly, she noticed a figure in the distance. A woman in a flowing white dress, standing alone on the beach. Emily's heart raced as she approached, the woman's back turned to her. "Excuse me," Emily called out, her voice barely above a whisper. The figure turned slowly, revealing a pale face framed by dark hair. It was Kate Morgan. Emily's breath caught in her throat as she locked eyes with the apparition. Kate's expression was one of profound sadness, her eyes reflecting a deep longing. Emily felt an overwhelming urge to comfort her, to understand her pain. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice trembling. Kate's lips moved, but no sound emerged. Instead, she pointed toward the ocean, her gaze distant and sorrowful. Emily followed her gaze, and for a moment, she felt a wave of emotion wash over her, a sense of loss, of yearning for something just out of reach. The air grew colder, and Emily shivered, realizing she was not alone. Jake had followed her outside, and as he approached, he felt an inexplicable heaviness in the air. "Emily, what's going on?" he asked, concern etched on his face. But when he looked toward the water, Kate had vanished, leaving only the sound of the waves crashing against the shore. "Did you see her?" Emily gasped, her heart racing. It was Kate Morgan. Jake shook his head, bewildered. "I didn't see anyone." "Are you sure you're okay?" But Emily was certain. She had felt Kate's presence, the weight of her sorrow, and the urgency of her unfulfilled story. The couple returned to their room, but sleep eluded them. As the night wore on, strange occurrences began to unfold. The lights flickered, and the temperature dropped dramatically. Emily felt a gentle touch on her shoulder, as if someone were trying to communicate. "Kate, what do you want?" she whispered into the darkness. In response, a soft voice echoed in the room, barely audible but unmistakable. "Help me." The word sent chills down Emily's spine. She turned to Jake, who was now wide awake, his eyes wide with fear. "Did you hear that?" he asked, his voice trembling. Determined to uncover the truth. The Bride of Banff Springs. Nestled amidst the breathtaking peaks of the Canadian Rockies, the Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel stands as a majestic symbol of luxury and history, often referred to as the Castle in the Rockies. With its stunning architecture and picturesque surroundings, it has long been a favored destination for travelers seeking both adventure and relaxation. However, beneath its opulent exterior lies a haunting tale that has captivated the imaginations of guests for decades, the tragic story of a bride who met her untimely fate on her wedding day. The legend dates back to the 1920s, when a young woman named Elizabeth was set to marry the love of her life in a grand ceremony at the hotel. The day was filled with excitement and anticipation, as friends and family gathered to celebrate the union. Elizabeth, radiant in her beautiful white gown, was the picture of happiness. But as she made her way down the grand staircase, a sudden misstep sent her tumbling down the steps, her wedding dress billowing around her like a ghostly shroud. Despite the frantic efforts of those around her, Elizabeth succumbed to her injuries, leaving behind a shattered dream and a heartbroken fiancé. Since that fateful day, guests at the Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel have reported eerie encounters with the spirit of the bride. Many claim to have seen her apparition gliding gracefully through the halls, her wedding dress flowing behind her like mist. Others have felt a sudden chill in the air or heard the faint sound of sobbing echoing through the corridors. The legend of the bride has become a part of the hotel's lore, drawing both skeptics and believers alike. One chilly autumn evening, a couple named Mia and Ryan arrived at the Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel for a romantic getaway. They had heard whispers of the hotel's haunted history and were eager to explore its grandeur. As they checked in, the receptionist casually mentioned the tale of the bride, her voice tinged with a mix of reverence and intrigue. Mia, fascinated by ghost stories, insisted they stay in the room that overlooked the grand staircase where Elizabeth had fallen. As night fell, the couple settled into their luxurious suite, the flickering fireplace casting a warm glow. But as they prepared for bed, Mia felt an inexplicable pull to the staircase. "Let's go explore," she suggested, her curiosity piqued. Ryan, though hesitant, agreed, and together they ventured out into the dimly lit hallways. The grand staircase loomed before them, its polished wood gleaming in the soft light. As they ascended the steps, Mia felt a sudden chill envelop her, as if the air had thickened with an unseen presence. "Do you feel that?" she whispered, glancing at Ryan, who nodded, his expression a mix of excitement and apprehension. As they reached the top of the staircase, they paused to take in the view. The hotel's opulent decor and stunning architecture were breathtaking, but Mia couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone. Suddenly, a soft rustling sound caught her attention. She turned to see a figure at the bottom of the stairs, a woman in a flowing white dress, her face obscured by a veil. "Mia, look!" Ryan exclaimed, his voice barely above a whisper. The figure seemed to glide up the staircase, her movements graceful yet haunting. Mia's heart raced as she realized they were witnessing the ghost of Elizabeth. "Is this really happening?" Mia breathed, her eyes wide with disbelief. The apparition paused, turning to face them, and for a brief moment, Mia felt a wave of sorrow wash over her. The bride's eyes were filled with a profound sadness, as if she were searching for something lost. "Elizabeth," Mia called out, her voice trembling. "What do you want?" The ghostly figure raised her hand, pointing toward the grand ballroom, where the echoes of laughter and music once filled the air. In that moment, Mia understood, Elizabeth was trapped in a cycle of longing, forever tied to the place where her dreams had been shattered. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and a cold breeze swept through the hallway. Ryan grabbed Mia's hand, his grip tightening as they both felt the weight of the moment. "We should go," he urged, but Mia felt an overwhelming urge to stay, to help the bride find peace. "Elizabeth, we're here for you," Mia said softly, her heart aching for the lost soul. "You don't have to be alone anymore." As if in response, the apparition began to fade, her form dissolving into the shadows. But before she vanished completely, Mia caught a glimpse of a smile, a fleeting expression of gratitude that filled her with warmth. The air around them shifted, and the oppressive weight that had lingered seemed to lift. The couple returned to their suite, their hearts racing with the thrill of the encounter. As they lay in bed, Mia couldn't shake the feeling that they had connected with something profound.